Hello and welcome to the Doge and Maha News channel. In this video today, I'm really excited to share with you a video that RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did about our food in America. Before we dive into that, there is a quote at the bottom of this video that he has. Let me put my glasses on. And he says, "The Democrats, who claim to be all about health care, have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons that make our kids sick. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children." Man, I can get behind that. I don't know about you, but I can get behind that. There's no politics in food. Let's see what he says here. Let's check it out. Okay, before this video even starts, check out the food that is sitting right there. Cheez-Its, Doritos, Captain Crunch. Boy, all that stuff I ate as a kid, a ton of it. And honestly, my kids grew up on it as well. So let's see what he has to say about this stuff.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese.
Okay, what does it say right here? The U.S. has the lowest life expectancy among large, wealthy countries while far outspending them in health care. So our life expectancy, check that out, 76.1 years. And the amount that we're spending on health care per capita, $12,000 per head. Wow. It seems like if we're spending the most, we should get the most return, right? We should have the longest life. That kind of seems like it makes sense to me. But here you have the UK. They're also very low at 80.8 with $5,000 spent. Germany, 80.9 at $7,000 spent. Let's go down here to I don't know, Switzerland. Average 84-year life expectancy with only $7,000 spent. And Japan, it has that over it, so I can't really see what that says. But even Australia, 83 years at $5,000 spent. Interesting.
Or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country.
Okay, our maternal mortality rate hit a peak in 2021. Okay, so I wasn't exactly sure what maternal mortality was, so I Googled it real quick right here, and it says maternal mortality is the death of a woman during pregnancy or within 42 days after giving birth from a pregnancy-related health issue or an existing condition that was made worse by pregnancy. Okay, our maternal mortality rate hit a peak in 2021 of, let's see, maternal mortality rate per 100,000 births. Over 30. Wow. So in 2000, it was less than 10, or right about at 10 per 100,000 births, and now we're at 30. So we've basically tripled in 24 years, or 21 years, because this is in 2021. That's pretty insane.
On Earth. Same with infant mortality.
Okay, and before we look at that chart on infant mortality, let's make sure I understand exactly what that is. It says infant mortality is the number of babies who die before their first birthday. It's an important indicator of a society's overall health. In the United States, the infant mortality rate in 2022 was 5.6 deaths per 1,000 live births. Wow, now that has nothing to do with abortion. This is after a live birth. Okay, so I went back to this chart, and this is the data for 2017, and it shows the U.S. at 5.8 deaths per 1,000 live births. And now this is, once again, these are deaths that occur within 1 year after birth. Canada, 4.5. France, look at the drop-off there. France, 3.9. UK, 3.9. Belgium and the Netherlands at 3.6. Australia, 3.3. Germany is the same. Austria 2.9, Sweden 2.4, Japan 2.0. We are 3 times higher than Japan. Now, I don't know what these numbers exactly mean, what is causing this, but let's find out. Let's see what RFK has to say about it.
Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker.
I didn't notice. Did you notice? I mean, it seems like all of a sudden we are super sick. We have like 60% of us have chronic illnesses. That's 3 out of 5. That's what I reported out in yesterday's video. And I mean, you look at the beaches today, and everyone is overweight, including me. But we're all overweight. You know, you look at pictures from the 70s and the 80s, and, no one was overweight in those pictures. What is happening?
Grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now in 2020,
Yeah, we have. It's like, oh, you have a chronic disease? Oh, that's just normal. That is wrong.
we're finally waking up to this cataclysm and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen?
We
A
are
big part of it
waking up.
is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me
Look at RFK just walking down the supermarket. This is just a really funny image. I mean, he's in his suit, wears his sweatpants and jeans or something like that. It's pretty funny. I like the imagery. He's got a good point here, though. The restaurants, if they serve unhealthy food, they're going to get shut down. But the FDA approves unhealthy food all day long, filled with chemicals and poisons, and just so corporations can get rich. It's wild. And, they put a couple labels on the boxes and make us feel better about it. So we kind of know what we're eating. And supposedly, all the ingredients are on there. But, we're supposed to trust these corporations and the FDA that this food is actually okay for us.
Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Captain Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to
I'm
see
getting
that
hungry.
the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tatrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into Coke. For black
Wait a second. I've always heard that the dyes weren't good for you. They always talk about the number 6 or whatever the numbers are for the different color dyes. However, we continue to eat them. I mean, if they're not good for you, how come they weren't taken out? What is the FDA's role in this? How come they didn't protect us from this? Why does the FDA even exist if they're not protecting us from these poisons? It's really seems corrupt to me, Let's learn more about this. But he's saying that this dye came out of the sludge from blast furnaces from something about coal, and we're putting that in our bodies?
blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric
Okay, interesting. So, of course, industries are trying to get rid of their waste, right? They're trying to find a good solution for it instead of just disposing of it. They want to find another solution. And obviously, one of those solutions was to make it part of the roads, right? To use it as part of the ingredients for making roads, and then some chemist turns it into a dye for fabric. Hey, I mean, I think that's okay. Although, again, we're going to be wearing it. I think it's really interesting that RFK sued a lot of companies for their contamination of the environment, contaminating the earth and the water, and then, of course, the communities that live near these industries. However, they still had this sludge to get rid of. At least they're not disposing of it improperly anymore, but now they're turning it into a product that we put into our food. That's pretty wild.
dye, why not food? Food manufacturers
Why
began
not
using
food?
it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods
Oh
that
my
they
gosh.
wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression.
Okay, I got to stop and look at this list. So this yellow dye is connected. I don't know if it's fully causing these, but it's probably connected in some way to tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD or ADHD. I mean, how many of us have some form of ADHD? I know I do. Hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety. Wow. I mean, I don't know the stats, but I feel like everyone has anxiety. Everyone is suffering from some kind of anxiety or depression. It's really crippling, especially the generation of kids coming up right now. I feel like there's so much anxiety in this generation. And if it's caused partially by yellow dye, we got to get rid of this stuff.
Intestinal injuries, well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that
Okay, let's read this warning label here. It says, produced from genetically modified maize, may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Store in a cool, dry place. Contains a source of phenylalanine produced from genetically modified maize. And there it is right there. Tetrazine E102 at the top there. Tetrazine E102. Indigo carmine is another one. It has all these colors. And it's really interesting how he said that these colors were put into our foods to cover up the fact that they are making low quality foods. So they're adding the yellow because the yellow's gone out of the natural yellow colors are gone because the food quality is so low. So they're like, hey, let's add this yellow pigment to it in order to make it look like it's better, like it's more appealing, like it's healthier.
may cause ADHD in children. Today it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods.
Yeah, it is. So now it's made from petroleum instead of coal tar. Well, that makes me feel better.
It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water.
What? It's even in healthy foods, not just in junk snack foods that we all know is kind of junk and we like to eat it just because it tastes good, but it's also in so-called healthy foods like sports drinks.
Even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so
Did you hear that? It's even added to chicken broth, corn, mustard, yogurt. Why?
of course, our kids get sick, and we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins which have, surprise, tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine.
The cough syrup. Even the cough syrup has it. I wonder how many of our medicines have this stuff in it too. So we eat this stuff, we start to feel a little bit sick, we go get some medicine so we can feel better, and the medicine has the same stuff in it?
Just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromate, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied.
That's a great point. I mean, he's just here talking about one of them, the color yellow, right? What about all the reds and all the different colors and the different chemicals he talked about right there? Individually, can those individually do the same damage as yellow? And then what if they're combined, which they are? They're all combined in a lot of these foods. You have all these different colors and chemicals in the same food that we're eating. And then what's that impact on our body all together?
We took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety.
Those three reasons right there are enough to get rid of them, right? Better focus, more healthy, less anxiety. Let's see what else he has to say.
Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have
lose weight, more energy. I mean, these are all good reasons to get rid of this. How come this hasn't been done 30 years ago when these studies first came out, or at least 20 years ago? Man, these should have been gone a long time ago once we knew, but obviously this has been covered up by someone. And hopefully, RFK and the MAHA movement, the Make America Healthy Again movement, can do something in the next couple of years to get rid of these, and we can then see what happens.
Have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer,
That's a
genetic
start.
damage,
8.
asthma, and many of the other self-conditions.
But he
as
says there's
heart
over
disease.
100 of them.
And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the Democrats, who claim to be all about health care, have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons.
The Democrats claim to be all about health care. I think they're all about big government health care and maybe supporting the pharma companies, the big pharma and the big food. They're all about supporting those big industries, but not really about supporting the actual health of Americans.
And make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch.
Oh, don't get me started on that. I've got a daughter that's a senior in high school, and she talks about the slop that they feed her, and she gets so mad about it because it's so disgusting, so unhealthy. I mean, if we were to just spend a few of the dollars that we give to other countries like Ukraine, we could just revolutionize the food that our kids are getting in the schools, and they would actually have healthy food, and they can have free lunches instead of sending all our money over to these other countries for war. We could actually improve the health of our kids while they're at school.
Their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also, because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. And
Wow. RFK is bringing it. He's basically saying, yeah, big food and big ag, they're getting paid a lot of money and these handshake deals, and then big pharma is pretty excited too, because now they get to come in and sell all of their drugs.
enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children.
I hope so.
Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
Make America healthy again. I love it. I love it. This is a great video. I can't wait to see what they do. Well, I hope you liked that video. I thought it was really informative, really awesome. I'm really excited to hear more information about the Make America Healthy Again agenda. I think they can make some huge improvements, some huge strides. So I'm going to follow this story every single day to see what they're doing and how it's impacting the health of everyday Americans like you and me. If you want to follow along as well, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you like and comment down below, and I'll see you on the next video.